Natty make we chant down Vatican now. Bang the ling chant down Babylon kingdom. Natty make we chant down Vatican now. Chant down Babylon kingdom. Natty make we chant down Vatican now. Bang the ling chant down Babylon kingdom. Natty make we chant down Vatican now.
What up, y'all? It's Babylon 5 Podcast. It's your boy, Jermaine Events. It's episode 183, calling this bad boy IV. I'm spelling it funky, but it's, it's a reference to our first topic today, which will be, is this whole Islam Makhachev, the fallout between Islam Makhachev and Volkanovski. There have been some claims made. After I finished recording last week, I look at my phone and I see Dan Hooker's tweets and I'm like, fuck. I wish I could have fucking saw that before before I talked last week, before I babbled. But yeah, this is episode 183. As I said, we're going to touch on Islam and the IV situation. We're going to touch on Erin Blanchfield versus Jessica Andrade. And then we're going to talk about UFC Vegas 70, headlined by Ryan Spann versus Nikita Krylov. We're definitely going to talk about those things here. Want to check in on you guys. How are you guys doing? I hope everybody's doing good. I appreciate you guys for being here 183 weeks. If you have been, I appreciate you. I appreciate everybody who listens, anybody who reaches out via Twitter or Instagram. Shout out to my boy Landon, who he likes to call me on Saturdays to know what my DraftKings rosters are like. He calls me for advice. So shout out to Landon. Shout out to everybody that hits me up for fight advice. I'm real hyped. I hope everyone's doing great. Honestly, a little hungover today. It was the homie Hunter's birthday. Coworker went over there. Left probably like an hour and a half after I got there. I was pretty fucking drunk. Just shots of tequila. I'm not a young man anymore. And I had to get the fuck out of there. I was like, oh, it's going, I'm fading to black. And I left. I remember getting out of there. I left and I was just like, I don't really remember. I remember leaving. And I'm happy I got out of there when I did, because then I pretty much blacked out after that. And I'm still feeling last night, if you will, so I guess my mood is a little down, my stomach feels a little weird right now, so but the show must go on, ladies and gentlemen. And if you guys would like to follow this podcast on Instagram and Twitter, it's at Babylon5Pod. You guys can email this podcast at Babylon5Podcast@gmail.com. If you guys would like to hit that like button anywhere that you're listening to this podcast, I'd appreciate it ever so much, my niggas. If you guys are on Twitch, go ahead and follow your boy at twitch.tv/Babylon5. If you guys would like to cop some merchandise, head on over to teespring.com/store/BOFpod-shop. And lastly, don't just be my niche, be my patrons. Head on over to patreon.com/Babylon5Pod and you can be my fucking patron today. Appreciate you guys so much. As I said, first topic of the day, ladies and gentlemen. I gotta get like a pad because I don't like how this always be clicking in. But anywho, I digress. Islam Makhachev. Alright. He fought Alexander Volkanovski, UFC 284. They fought in Australia. And in the fallout of that were, I guess, initially allegations from Dan Hooker. He tweets out like, dumb cunt thinks he can come to Australia and hire a nurse to give him an IV and we wouldn't find out. This is what Dan Hooker was tweeting. And then when Ariel Helwani had an interview with Alexander Volkanovski just like, he brought it up. He was like, he just mentioned an IV, you know what I'm saying? He brought it up. And hence, there was IV Gate, the start of IV Gate. And people are looking at the pictures of Islam, and there's like a bruise, like right there on the inside of his arm. It looks like, yeah, he definitely, something happened to his arm right there. You know what I'm saying? Islam and his co-manager, not Ali Abdelaziz, they pretty much both came out and denied the claims that he used an IV. And then his other co-manager, Ali Abdelaziz, tweets, I got it up here, 1 second. Yeah, for all those idiots out there, any fighter under the UFC banner can take 2 to 3 liters of IV as long as it's done by a nurse or professional, is what he tweeted. And then he said he was going to expose everybody next week, or this week now is what he's claiming last week. But I doubt he touches on this again. I doubt he mentions this situation again, because he deleted that tweet soon thereafter, because as it was pointed out by like Ariel and a lot of people, it is illegal to use that much of an IV. It's not 2 to 3 liters, it's 100 milliliters that someone is allowed to use. A lot of people didn't even know that they were allowed to use this. I was watching, I forget which fighter. There was a fighter that tweeted out like, yo, I'm definitely one of the people that didn't know this. Maybe it was Sadiq, Super Sadiq. Shout out to Super Sadiq. Yo, he's got the best fight picks, fight predictions. Like, this nigga, like, shout out to him. He was like, Jamal Emmers was fighting this 23-0 Russian. And I'm looking at it like, clearly the 23-0 Russian is gonna win. That's just how it works these days. And but Sadiq is looking at it and he's like Jamal with the extra ace just did the damn thing, and I'd be a fool to think Jamal with an extra L ain't about to do the same thing. So I was like, this nigga crazy. But Jamal with the extra L did the damn thing. So shout out to Super Sadiq. But as I was saying, I believe he tweeted out that he didn't know. I was watching Sean O'Malley's podcast. I was watching it on YouTube, and he was like, why aren't we allowed to use it? We should be allowed to use it. So he clearly didn't know that he could use an IV. And Ali Abdelaziz tweets that fighters can use 2 to 3 liters, which is illegal, which is that they cannot do that. But that's what he tweeted out in defense of his client, is that he's allowed to use 2 to 3 liters of an IV. Also, it was pointed out that in California, their athletic commission, not California, Australia, pardon me, in Australia, that athletic commission bans the use of IVs. All right, they ban the use of IVs altogether. So Ali Abdelaziz coming out and defending his client here and saying he's allowed to use 2 to 3 liters, like that's his defense, but he's not allowed to do such things in Australia, you know. So that's where the shadiness comes. It's like, I believe that since Ali did come out here and was like, I'm gonna expose everybody, like he is allowed to use these liters, blah blah blah, I could only assume that something happened. All right, something happened. But interesting enough, right before I was about to record, I saw this tweet from Luke Thomas. It's Jeff Novinsky, okay, of USADA, the people who test people for the UFC or whatever. Well, so Luke tweets before that. It's the commission. The commission has no conclusive evidence that any athlete at the UFC 284 event held at RAC Arena has breached WADA or the commission's policy, which is WADA is another company like USADA. But this is Jeff Novinsky, which I don't.
Okay, Jeff.
I think it's shady, dude.
What happened with Islam? Is that an easy question or is that a hard question? I think it is. I think the Australian Commission put out a statement last night saying there's no credible evidence that of him violating any of their rules.
Yeah. All right, so that's what Jeff Nowinski's saying, right? He's just going with the commission said, nope, nothing happened, so there isn't evidence, so we're just gonna go with that. That's what Jeff Nowinski says. Also, as I mentioned, he had that that spot on his arm, that bruise, that looked like he definitely got an IV in that arm. Shit, there was another one here. I can't find it. Where he was... Jeff Nowinski was essentially claiming that all of the American fighters, well, all the non-Australian fighters had to undergo drug testing. Or a blood test. They had to give blood on Wednesday. And he's claiming that because of that, that's why there was bruising on Islam's arm. But my thing is, why would Ali tweet this in defense of his client if his client did not do any shady business at all, if there was nothing going on? If it was like, yo, my arm is bruised because we had to give blood on Wednesday, why was that never mentioned? In Islam's defense, as he's saying, you know what I'm saying? If he's saying this,
yeah, I think,
here we go.
There was a bruise on his arm.
Yeah, I think there was some photos floating around.
Yeah.
What I don't think a lot of people realize, especially the Australian athletes, because they weren't subject to this, but all non-Australian athletes that week gave a blood draw on Wednesday as part of their pre-fight physical. And I think if you look, at pictures thereafter, you saw a small Band-Aid, on the...
Why wasn't it mentioned? Why did no one mention this? If this was a thing that all non-Australian fighters had to go through, how come no one mentioned this? Until after people are claiming he illegally used an IV to rehydrate ahead of his fight with Alexander Volkanovski. It just seems weird to me, If that's the case, why didn't anyone say anything? Why is it like a week later, that Jeff Nowinski is saying like, oh, you know what? He actually had his blood drawn on Wednesday, so that's why it looked like he had an IV in his arm. You know what? We just forgot to mention it. And you know what? Every non-Australian fighter that fought on that card just forgot. Nobody mentioned, you know what? We all had to get our blood taken on Wednesday. How come no one mentioned this? Not one single person has mentioned this. If this is the truth, then it is what it is. It looks like nothing is gonna happen, even if there was. I was saying, I feel like there should be an investigation. But then, right before I record, I see this shit with Jeff Nowinski, and they're saying there is no investigation because they don't see any credible evidence in order to open it up. Not even the bruise on this man's arm, because apparently all non-Australian fighters were subject to a blood test on Wednesday. That is what they're claiming right now. I don't believe it. Honestly, I'm of the belief that some shady business went on. This company, they can do whatever the fuck they want, man. I just want fairness in this sport. That's it. Just fairness. And if Islam is using 2 to 3 liters of fucking IV to rehydrate after a weight cut, he's a pretty big dude. If he's really killing himself to get down to 155, and he's using 2 to 3 liters of an IV to get back to 100%, to rehydrate in a way that he can't naturally without the IV, then let Volk do it. You know what I'm saying? If you're gonna do it, let it be. These need to be the same. I just want fairness. If you're using steroids since you're fucking 10, then let Volk use steroids since he's fucking 10. Jesus Christ, man. I just want fairness. If niggas is gonna cheat with some shit like this, because then I'm watching the Weasels video, And he's talking about, like, if people are able to use IVs, even just that 100 milliliters, like, that definitely, like, opens up the floor to mask steroid use. It opens it up. And apparently fighters have been able to do this for years, but it just wasn't common knowledge. So they're all fucking on steroids. The most of them. And that's why they pop for steroids. But unfortunately, it looks like nothing is going to happen with this Islam situation. It seems pretty fucking shady. And I think it's pretty unlikely that if everyone there took a blood test, that it's highly unlikely that if that was the reason for the bruise, that Islam wouldn't fucking mention it when he said he didn't take an IV. Why didn't he fucking mention, I got my blood drawn right there? Every non-Australian fighter had to get their blood drawn. Why didn't no one mention this? I believe Islam did some shady business, but we saw a chink in the armor, and my boy Charles Oliveira is coming back, ladies and gentlemen. Last night we found a new contender. A new challenger has arrived, ladies and gentlemen, and her name is Erin Blanchfield. All right, I'm taking this victory with a grain of salt. All right, Erin looked great on the feet. All right, as far as the boxing is concerned, she looked great on the feet. She never checked a leg kick. I feel like if someone really invests in those leg kicks, they're gonna really have some success against Blanchfield. But Blanchfield looked great with these 1-2s and the striking. She was really getting the better of Andrade in the striking exchanges. Now, I take it with a grain of salt because Andrade stepped in on a week's notice, all right? Andrade is a former champion. We know how good she is. She didn't have a full camp to prepare for Blanchfield. She stepped in on 1 week's notice. So I do take that with a bit of salt, dude. Like, you know what I'm saying? With a grain of salt, because Andrade came in on a week's notice. But Blanchfield looked great in there. She was staying in the pocket for them striking exchanges. She got hit a few times, with some pretty heavy punches from Andrade, and she was able to shake that shit off and keep coming. Her teammate Caitlin Chukagian wasn't able to take those shots as well. Chukagian, a former title challenger, and we got 23-year-old Erin Blanchfield here making it look easy against Andrade, who stepped in on a week's notice. All right, that cannot be missed out here. That Erin Blanchfield has been training to fight Talia Santos, had a full fight camp. Talia Santos pulled out last week with an injury, and in comes former champion Jessica Andrade, who's currently ranked number 3 behind double number 1s Talia Santos and Manon Fiorot. They're both number 1 on the UFC rankings, and it looks like Blanchfield is gonna move up to at least 3 after beating number 3, if not tied for number 1, a 3-way tie for number 1. I see no reason why they're doing these ties. If you have Manon Fiorot above Talia Santos, well, I think Talia's above Manon Fiorot, so just do the 1-2. It's that easy. Anywho, Erin Blanchfield shocked a lot of people with this victory. She looked a lot better than we all expected. She looked great in the stand-up, except for not checking those leg kicks. I saw that as a fucking potential huge problem in the future. She calls for the winner of Valentina Shevchenko versus Alexa Grasso. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see her in that fight. I'm gonna see Alexa Grasso versus Valentina Shevchenko in Vegas. I'll be there, ladies and gentlemen, at UFC 285 to see John Jones versus Cyril Gane. Your boy's gonna be there to see Bo Nickel versus Jamie Pickett. I'm gonna be there, ladies and gentlemen. Photo shoot fresh. All right. photo shoot fresh. I just ordered my fit, nigga. I had that shit laid out on the bed in the morning, just waiting to stun on these niggas. Blanchfield looked great last night. We got a real contender. It was a pretty good card. I missed some fights. It was an earlier card. I was at work, and then I look at my phone, like when I was about to leave, and it was like, who was fighting? It was like the first. It was probably like the third fight. I think Bueno Silva, Myra Bueno Silva, was about to fight, or no, they had just fought, and I was like, oh shit. If she just fought, then I missed 3 fights already. Fuck. But yeah, so I missed a few fights just being at work. I didn't even realize the card had started as early as it did, and I believe next week's card, UFC Vegas 70. It says on Topology that it is a 4 p.m. Eastern start time, so that would be 3 o'clock here Central Time. And as I just said, next week, UFC Vegas 70, Nikita Krylov versus Ryan Spann. There's a few fights here. We got the return of Tatiana Suarez taking on Montana De La Rosa. And also on this card, I'm very interested in Brendan Allen versus Andrade Muniz. There's some pretty good fights on the card. I was looking at it like, yo, this ain't the sexiest card I've ever seen. But there's definitely some meat in there, ladies and gentlemen. Got Jordan Levitt coming back to fight Victor Martinez. Rafael Alves is stepping. Dude, if you guys don't know who Rafael Alves is, he's that. If you watch, like, there's a clip versus Drew Dober where he's like breakdancing in there with that nigga and just like dodging them punches and just doing this crazy shit. He ultimately loses the fight, but he's going to be very entertaining. All right, we got Rafael Alves versus this guy Norulo Alev. It looks like his UFC debut. Oh, he was a Contender Series guy. He's a Contender Series guy. Where is he from? I never even heard of this place. He's from Dushanbe, Tajikistan. I've never even heard of this place. That's why I'm looking at this flag. Like, I mean, when I'm looking at him, his nickname is Tajik Eagle. He looks like Khabib. He's got the similar. Khabib is the Eagle, and this guy is Tajik Eagle. All right, so something tells me, and especially with he's undefeated. We just saw a 23-0 guy just fucking get dominated by Jamal Emmers, and now so I have reason to pause on me like, oh, these Russians are just gonna dominate whoever the fuck they put in there. I gotta pull back on that a little bit after last night. Jamal Emmers beat that boy ass. He did the damn thing. Jamal with the extra L. But if we can talk about these fights, man. Honestly, when I looked at the main event, I was like Nikita Krylov versus Ryan Spann is the main event fight. I thought that was kind of weird at first, and then I'm looking at it like on Tapology. Most people are riding with Krylov here. It's 55% Krylov, 45 Spann. They're both on a 2-fight win streak. Fucking Spann is 6'5", 81.5-inch reach. Krylov 6'3", 77.5-inch reach. I didn't care for this fight at first, and then I'm looking at it like, for me, I don't know. I think it's just like Nikita Krylov I've never been too high on Nikita Krylov. His wins against St. Preux, man. St. Preux fought last night, and I feel like if he didn't retire, he should probably retire pretty soon here. Like, he just keeps getting overwhelmed. All you gotta do is just keep throwing punches at homeboy, and the fight's gonna be over. Just overwhelm him. He seems to get overwhelmed. Doesn't seem to know what to do. Like, at this point in his career, he looks pretty bad in there. But what I'm saying is Krylov's wins and his losses, I don't know, it gave me cause for concern a little bit. Like, he beat Johnny Walker, lost to Glover, as you know, that's gonna happen. He beats Ovin St. Preux, but before that lost to Jan Blachowicz. I mean, that's gonna happen. Then he lost to Magomed Ankalaev. That's gonna happen. Then he lost to Paul Craig, and now he's riding a 2-fight win streak against Alexander Gustafsson, which at this point in his career, that win, you know, it doesn't look that good with how he finished Gustafsson in 1 round. All right, this is not the same Gustafsson of old. He finished Gustafsson in 1 round. Volkan Oezdemir, I don't know. Oezdemir's good, but I don't know. He's like 50-50 to me. Like, he got pretty much dominated by Prochazka. Prochazka put that boy down. He beat Paul Craig, but like, Paul Craig's 50-50. He's basically gonna do nothing to you in standing up, and he just hopes that you go to the ground and play that game. See, he beat Rakic. This guy beat Rakic. Oezdemir beat Rakic. But then he's got wins over like Ilir Latifi, who's very undersized. His losses he's got before that are Dominic Reyes, Anthony Smith. Dude, he fought Cormier. And he lost to Cormier in the first round, but I don't know. The Krylov, when I look at his wins and losses, it gives me, like, he just never really did it for me. Spann, on the other hand, see, he recently finished Dominic Reyes in his last fight, first round, with this fucking nasty power jab. Just fucked that boy up. Now, does that win like look that impressive given how Reyes has looked recently? I don't know. I don't think so, actually. Reyes was coming in there like, oh, I've been working on my defense. You guys, like, I'm a whole new fighter now. And then he goes in there and just gets knocked out in the first round. Gets finished faster than he had previously. You know what I'm saying? So, like, does the Dominic Reyes, I don't know if it ages well. I mean, it's his last one, but we gotta look at Reyes like, damn, dude, what's going on with Reyes? Maybe Reyes is too chinny at this point, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to say he's chinny, but he might be a little chinny at this point. Already beat Cutelaba, which Cutelaba, I feel like he's good, but you should be winning that fight if you're Ryan Spann. See, what gives me cause for concern with Ryan Spann is that he recently lost via first round rear naked choke to Anthony Smith. I fucking love Anthony Smith, you know? I thought Anthony Smith was going to be the light heavyweight champion. You know what I'm saying? Before John Jones came back, like, he was gone. Then John Jones came back. I think he was suspended. And then he reclaimed the championship. But I felt like it was, like, back in those days, I thought it was between Anthony Smith and Thiago Santos. And this is, like, before they were, like, top contenders. I was like, those two dudes right there are going to be the top of this division. They unfortunately had to face John Jones, and that's not what ended up happening there. Damn, he lost to... No, what's going on here? He lost to Johnny Walker in the first round? Shit, dude. Split decision with Sam Alvey? Yeah. Damn, this fight, I don't know, man. I was honestly thinking I was riding 100% with Spann. But as I'm looking at it right now, dude, I don't know. This fight is 50-50 to me. It's pretty 50-50. I'm not the biggest fan of either of these guys. I know Cormier put Ryan Spann as one of the top 5 light heavyweights, but I cannot agree with that. I believe it was light heavyweights, or it was like top fighters in UFC or some shit. I was like, that's a weird person to add on there. Brendan Allen versus Andrade Muniz. That's gonna be a fucking banger. I believe they're both known for their grappling. The only thing with Allen, dude, I love Allen, but sometimes he makes just bad decisions. He does not fight out of Rufus Sport anymore. I'm just looking at Tapology. It says he's fighting out of Rufus Sport, but he switched that camp a long time ago. I believe he's fighting out of Vegas. I believe so. I think he trains with, like, what's homeboy's name? Sean Strickland and all that. I think he trains with those guys. Currently on a 3-fight win streak. But see, there's Sam Alvey. When I see Sam Alvey in there, it's like, well, that's just, you should beat that guy. Whenever I see Sam Alvey up there. Then he beat Jacob Malkoon. He's coming off a victory against Christoph Jocko. Finished him in the first round with a rear naked choke. That's a big win. Andre Muniz, on the other hand, oh, he's on a streak, eh? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I believe a 9-fight streak. I was scrolling and counting, and I could have missed some. But according to this, it looks like he's on a 9-fight win streak. Last victory was a unanimous decision against Uriah Hall. I believe that was Uriah Hall's last fight. Yeah, that was his last fight in the UFC, and then he boxed Le'Veon fucking Bell in fucking circus fights. I think Andre Muniz, dude, I don't know. I don't like picking against Allen. I'm a fan of Brendan Allen, and I don't like picking against him. But I feel like he shouldn't want to play the jiu-jitsu game with Andre Muniz. I don't believe Brendan Allen should do that, but I think he will, because sometimes he makes pretty questionable decisions in there. So I believe he will, and I'm gonna have to go with Andre Muniz in there, man. I think that's gonna be a banger. That's the co-main. And as I said, the return of the return of Tatiana Suarez against Montana De La Rosa. Tapology, 96% of people are going with Suarez. Suarez is 8-0, undefeated prospect. It's funny, I saw this tweet. This person was like, Erin Blanchfield is who everybody pretends Tatiana Suarez is. We haven't seen her since 2019. Alright? This is her first fight since 2019. She beat Nina Nunes, the wife of Amanda Nunes, formerly Nina Ansaroff. That was her last fight. I remember in the third round, Nina Ansaroff got up because, you know, Tatiana Suarez is a big wrestler. She'll take you to the ground, beat you up, maybe even choke you out. But in the third round, Nina Nunes was able to get up and and she was getting the better of those striking exchanges. Tatiana Suarez looked pretty bad when it was on the feet, in my personal opinion. So because of that definitely gave me cause for concern. I thought it was funny that the tweet that Erin Blanchfield is who everybody pretends Tatiana Suarez is, because the striking, for me, when I saw with Tatiana back in 2019, definitely left a lot to be desired for your boy. But fortunately for Tatiana Suarez, I don't believe that Montana has the skill set to beat her. Montana is a heavy jiu-jitsu. She's good, really great with her grappling. But as we've seen, wrestling is pretty much the trump card for that playing jiu-jitsu shit. You know what I'm saying? It's proven to be a trump card. If you're a really good wrestler, you can pretty much shut down that jiu-jitsu, keep heavy pressure on them, put your head in there fucking right there into the neck. Keep that control. I think this is the perfect fight for Tatiana Suarez to come back and look just as dominant as she's always been. I don't believe I don't believe Montana De La Rosa will be too much of a problem for Tatiana Suarez unless these almost 4 years off, like she's had neck surgeries and then she was supposed to come back, I believe, and then she had an injury in her knee like a week before that, I believe. Yeah, she was going to fight Roxanne Modafferi back in 2021, but then right before that bout, she, I believe, had a knee injury. Yep, knee, that's what it says, knee injury. It doesn't tell me what the injury was. I'm like, what happened? But she had a neck surgery back in 2019 after the Nina Ansaroff fight, Nina Nunes, and then she was scheduled to fight Roxanne Modafferi and then blew out her knee. Had to get surgery on her knee. So she's coming back after 2 major surgeries, major neck surgery. She said she was having all kinds of problems with mobility because she's always had neck problems. Just, I think, through wrestling her whole life. And then she had, as I just mentioned, knee surgery. So we'll see what Suarez looks like coming back, if she's able to get right back into form when she returns at UFC Vegas 70. I think it's the best situation for her. Like, no real audience there. You're fighting in basically an empty arena, smaller cage, so that the grappler, it's easier for the grappler to get to a Montana De La Rosa. I think this is like the perfect setup return fight to reintroduce Tatiana Suarez at the top of that division. But unless her striking has seriously improved, in my opinion, I just feel like it, dude, I don't know if she's that guy. I think like that statement that Erin Blanchfield is who people pretend. I don't pretend. I'm not the hugest Tatiana Suarez fan. As I said, her striking left much to be desired, but I also thought that about Erin Blanchfield until last night. So we'll see what happens there with Tatiana Suarez's return to fighting next week, ladies and gentlemen, and I'll be here to talk about that. And if you guys would like to follow this podcast on Instagram and Twitter, it's at Babylon5Pod. You guys can email this podcast at Babylon5podcast@gmail.com. If you guys would like to hit that like button if you made it thus far, I appreciate you so much. If you guys would like to watch your boy play games, if I ever remember to go on there, go to twitch.tv/Babylon5. If you guys would like to cop some merchandise, head on over to teespring.com/Babylon5Pod. Wait, no. Go to teespring.com/store/BOFpod-shop. And lastly, don't just be my niche, be my niggas. Head on over, be my patrons. Head on over to patreon.com/Babylon5Pod and you can be my patron today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys so much for being here for episode 183 IV, ladies and gentlemen. Calling this bad boy IV. And I hope you guys are taking care of yourselves and each other, and I will see you guys next week. Same bat time, same bat channel, and then we'll preview UFC 285 next week, as I just mentioned, and I'll get hype just to rub it in you guys' faces that I'm going to Vegas to watch John Bones Jones return to the UFC. I'm bragging. But thank you guys so much for being here. And as I said, I hope you're taking care of yourselves and each other. And I will see you when I see you. I'll holla.
Chant down Babylon kingdom, that he make we chant